My best experience has been jobs ahead professionally, and it was a brilliant team all over, across. I mean, not even my territory. I think south, north. It was a brilliant company from a people perspective.
You talked about some of the culture at the company.
Yeah, so it was a fearless organization, right? JobsAhead was a fearless organization, right? It was very similar to how I had envisioned, right, a company that I would want to create, an environment where we had grown up was absolutely fearless. You could conflict, you can argue, you can straight come to point without worrying about anything else. JobsAhead was like that. I mean, you could argue with anyone, founder, director, owner, chairman, nobody, you can't care. If you think there's a point, you will hold to the point, right? And you will argue till as length as you want. You could ask anyone any question. No question was not allowed. We had this practice called coffee table meeting, where when you hire somebody, right, you will randomly pick 4 people from your team. They will meet the new joinee over a coffee table. They will discuss, and they will give you a report. They give you a negative report. No matter you are in love with the person, you can't hire it. It was a veto, right? And we lost a CFO. On the coffee table, somebody asked a question. CFO said, I don't think that's an appropriate question to be answered in this forum. So he got a negative report, right? Puneet was completely, in favor of everything had happened. There was a top consultant who had done long months of search, etc. I mean, the whole thing, behind it, and positive references, everything. This guy was a performer, superstar, but negative on coffee table. Nobody. It was a sacrosanct. Nobody could run over it. So there's a cost you would pay, right? You will lose out on some right talent. Just like I'm stuck on this cost cut, right? So I say take a salary lower, right? Today I allow them to do even a 5% lower. That's okay. There was a time I used to ask for 30% lower. But today I said take a hit. Today the story is different. Today I ask them take a hit because I tell them you won't fit in otherwise, right? If you won't be able to look into the face of others, I mean, what, they'll laugh at you. Everyone else is here with a huge cut. With what face will you come after taking raise, right? You will be a different animal, right? People will look and say, hey, you are the sucker. So I said, now for at least that sake, take some cut.
But I think that's the core of the culture eventually.
Right? Loss builds a connect. You care about things for which you lost something. If you didn't lose anything for getting something else, what care you want to keep?
Let me now switch gears to, Plug HR, finding that idea.
Yeah.
Thinking about HR, given your deep experience with HR.
Yeah. So my deep experience with HR is, like I never studied HR. I never worked in HR department. And before, doing this, I used to not even date HR people, right? I had nothing to do with HR. Nothing, absolutely. I don't even think even at business school time I met with some. I don't think so. So, how did I think about Plug HR? There are 2 sides of this. Okay, one is in JobsAhead you had to interact with HR. So I used to meet HR people, and they were the user of the service, and I would meet entrepreneurs. And during a lot of those interactions, I got a feeling that these 2 guys are kind of fooling each other, right? So I mean, entrepreneur is on his own trip, and in his imagination he thinks he's got a department he's got. But on ground, that's not the reality. I met one entrepreneur who told me about their grand plans on how people is the key, and they're going to hire 500 people over the next 3 years, and this is going to become this greatest place to work, things like that. And HR is key. He said, I completely depend on those guys, right? I said, okay. And then, you're on a courtesy visit, so I met the HR person also, right? Within first 30 seconds, the HR person asked me, do you have an opportunity somewhere? Can I send you my CV? Oh, because you meet everyone, right? So, yeah. I'm shocked. I say, hey, listen, these guys are sitting next doors, and they have completely different agenda. And then I worried that who's going to do this 500? If this guy is going out and this guy goes out, he'll walk away with the other 3 who are sitting outside also. So this was the scenario. And that time, the average life of HR was what, 9 months, 10 months in a company, with jobs and all that. So if I say all these things, we talk about culture, we talk about so many things, right? You guys changing jobs every 10 months, what will go down? Nothing. 10 months you will take to understand the whole thing. And by the time it's to now next job, nothing works. Okay? See, look at how military trains people, how many years it takes for them with rigorous drills, right, and pain and punishments to get things right, and still they fail. Just imagine in 10 months the guy got dropped as HR guy, what is he going to achieve? Nothing. So I felt there was and I truly believe that HR has a huge role to play for businesses to scale in India, because in India a lot of businesses scale on the back of manpower, right? You add a lot of people and that's how your business scale. There's no way on earth you can achieve that without a strong HR backbone. So here was a perfect scenario of a high need function, right, which was being served by low capacity structures. Right? And there was no alternate method available, right? So you had to just depend on that. So all you needed was another format of HR department, which is meant for an entrepreneur. So we were like an RCC in the whole construction mix, right? Whenever it was invented, saying that there was a time for which RCC had to come in, right? Because the ambition had changed. So you were talking about large stories and bigger construction, so you needed a new material. So we were that new material in terms of HR. Right? So I felt there was a huge gap. The other thing I realized was that HR as a fraternity in itself was not focusing on the entrepreneur at all. It was focusing on its own learning curve. Right? So it's so common to find people who talk about learning, right? And I feel so many people come to interview to me, they say they are here for learning. I get so scared when somebody says I'm here for learning, right? And I said, listen, I thought I'm hiring you for doing, right? So you're going to learn, so who's going to do? And I'm going to teach you and I'm going to pay you all that. So how does that work, right? And so it's a very weird thing, right? And so and I asked them, so what did you learn last, right? Last month, what did you learn? So that nothing clear comes out. They say, okay, what did you learn month before that? Month before that. So we go to 3 years, we find nothing has been learned in 3 years. So I said, listen, why do you want to learn? I mean, you are not the one who learn anyways, right? So, why are you telling me you are here for learning, right? You last 3 years you have not learned anything. Sometimes, some people say, what do you want to learn? So he said, I want to learn performance management. I said, so what did you do last on performance management? You read something on performance management? No. You read a research journal on performance management? No. You wrote something? You had a discussion somewhere? No. So I said, why are you saying you want to learn it? You don't want to learn it actually. Right? How will an employer ensure learning? Right? You decide what you want to learn, you go and learn. What has got to do with job? I learned guitar, my boss didn't teach me this. I didn't care whether I work for a music company to learn guitar. I can just learn it if I want it. Right? So, I mean, these are completely disconnected. So, this is where, I felt that, existing pool of HR was doing, it's not a personal, pointer. It's not that, maybe, that connect never happened. Maybe that entrepreneur never had that heart to heart with HR saying, hey, listen, you are also equally a business partner and let's build this business together. Maybe that didn't happen, possibly. Right? So because I remember one of my managers telling me, Prashant, you say so much about HR guy is not doing this. Tell me which CEO calls an HR guy at a strategy meeting. Right? So you don't call the HR guy at a strategy meeting. You don't do it for 3 years. The HR guy has completely become an outdoor guy. Right? He's just managing a coffee machine. So it works both ways. I quite agree. Right? It works both ways. You have to participate. But I mean, say from a business perspective, I am happy that they didn't do that. Right? And that gave me an opportunity. I have said, let me do that. Right? So we hire same HR professionals, right? And they know everything. They know far more. We spend time with them in induction to reduce their know-how, right? And then help them prioritize, saying that, hey, listen, what matters to entrepreneurs is these 3. So we will talk only these 3, okay? Let's achieve this, then we will talk the other 3 and other 3. So we will do it in parts, right? So I don't want to know how do you do compensation benchmarking, right? I don't want to know that, because my client doesn't want it for next 3 years. Okay, so forget about it. And even if you find out the benchmark salary, I don't want you to offer that. Okay, I want you to offer 30% lower. So what's the point knowing a benchmark? I mean, then you will be even more worried that we are paying low. So you forget about it. I will just hire it. This is the cost. Hire. And some of these things can be this compensation benchmarking. I met one manager who I asked, how do you do compensation benchmarking? I said, let me understand. So look at this. This is the reply. Okay, you say, listen, we are 10 companies competing in this space. I am the 10th, the other 9. So we shoot a mail to HR heads of all other competing companies saying that we are doing a compensation benchmarking. Right? So we want to know the salary details of your employees. Please fill this form and send it back. Right. And so the data comes, we collate it, we structure it, we make charts, this and that, and send it to the client. Client pays us whatever, right? Why will a competitor give you the salary details of, if I was there, I will give you all the wrong information. Why will I give you right information? You must be a maniac to do that. Are you killing your own company by saying, hey, this is how I pay my people? Right? So, I was saying, if this is the basis with which a competition benchmark is happening, right? I mean, God bless everyone. It's all incorrect data. And, I mean, as a first principle, it is incorrect. You forget about the formula. It's incorrect at the first principle level, right? So the only thing I use a lot from physics days is first principle. You forget about the formula. Can you derive it from first principle? Right? If you can derive it from first principle, you can derive any problem. You can solve anything. First principle is common, right? You go back 5 steps. You check start from the origin. Then prove it. Same way, logic tells me that you ask a competitor about the details of salary of his people, which he's implemented a policy in his company that salary will be a confidential subject. Right? So even to internal he's saying don't discuss. So in the outsider how will he going to tell you all that? It's beyond me to understand how this works. So we don't do a lot of these stuff which we have not been able to figure out. But we do a lot of original stuff. So in last 5 years there's so much original things which we have created in Plug HR which makes things work. And a lot of them may not have come from HR actually. A lot of them would have come from very, very different fields, right? Including physics, including psychology, including sociology, including whatever else, right? I mean, when I did a course in history and philosophy of physics in my graduate school, they told me that in the beginning everything was philosophy, right? So end of the day, whether it is a physics, whether it is a HR, whether it is a what, it's all philosophy only, right? So then you can pull things from anywhere. We have hired our chief operating officer. By the way, people were expecting that the COO will come from an HR. That guy is a chartered accountant, right? And he was CFO in a couple of his assignments. Then he founded 2 companies, sold them off. His last company, where he was a founder and CEO, ran on Plug HR. So he was our client CEO actually. Once he sold it off, I asked him what next for you. So he said, I'm thinking. I said, so don't think, come. So let's build this. So he's on our side. The good thing is you get client on your side, and he was bashing you all up about what's wrong with you. You say, okay, now fix it. Yeah. So now he's he's fixing all that which he felt was not right, could have been better, etc. So for about 8 months he joined us as a head of strategy. And then once he developed the comfort of saying that, yeah, this is the team I would love to run with for long years, then he joined in as a COO and very bright and capable person. So he is also, he will de-risk the business from me as well, right? If one business starts scaling up, you have to keep founder a little at arm's length. Right? Founders maybe have destructive energies as well. So I do a lot of this thing saying that, listen, we will not work here. So, which today he questions. So today I don't take those calls. I say you take a call. So.
Let me start closing out.
Yeah, sure.
You want to talk to us about Good Papa?
Yeah. So there is this new thing called Good Papa, which so I did a couple of efforts in between as well. Once Jobs had exited. I wanted, I put up a site called jumpmile.com, which was basically a internship site for engineering and management students. I felt that, you know, internship was a pretty loose subject in India, and a lot of people, actually end up doing internship at the cost of their job, right, and at the cost of entrepreneurs. So why not use that time well? Good rich internships can be given. So that was the first model I booted actually before even PlugHR. I went to a couple of colleges. It was a paid product for student, right? So and students paid $1,200 a year was the price point at which it's sold, right? And in which they'll get access to high quality internship which they can apply, etc., etc. But very soon, I think in first 3 months, I realized that you will have to push both sides, right? So you don't have a pull on either side, which means that it becomes double the cost to push the venture. To the HR guy, you'll have to beg for a internship option. You'll have to load it for him. You'll have to read the resume for him. You'll have to then line up interviews for him. Then again, beg to take, right? So somebody. This was just too much. So I said, we don't want to do this. So 3 months, it was an open and shut business. Right? At that time, I was also writing a blog on parenting. It was called Good Papa. Right? My first kid was born, and I was searching on internet. And every parenting site I used to go was addressing mama. So they were assuming that only mother is going to kind of search for kid things. And I felt offended. I said, what the, hell, I mean, you don't even expect that a father is going to search for something for kid. So then I said, okay, let me put it together. So that's how we created Good Papa. I used to write a blog. Actually, HT carried a huge half-page story on Good Papa at that time. But then I got busy with PlugHR, so it got a little drifted. Now with COO on board, suddenly you can bring out some of those things. Right? So I thought, let me again do this. So it's a social venture. What we have done is, if you SMS Good Papa to 55444, right? And I mean that application is live. You can do it, anytime. 55444. That's the number to which you SMS Good Papa. One word, Good Papa. Right? What will happen is the SMS will come back. It will ask you for the kid's date of birth and the kid's name. Okay, date of birth, TDMMYYYY space kid's name. Right? You send that back. It will confirm once saying that immunization calendar for entire 5 years is set for your kid. Right? Just confirm. Just say yes. So you say yes back. You will never forget an injection for your kid. On the due date and 3 days after that, 2 SMSs will come for every injection with a full detail of BCG to due now, right? Check with your doctor. So, and you can, it's a very, very simple application. Just send an SMS, Good Papa to 55444, and this whole series of immunization taken care of. So we booted this, about 2 weeks back. It's still, getting tested and things like that. We are now trying to do it in different languages. So even at villages, rural areas, that Kinnaurs where I grew up and those Carreras where I grew up, right, where people didn't have things. Luckily they have phones now, and it's an SMS application because I didn't want to build it for smartphones, right. The poorest guy today has a basic phone, so you can send an SMS and it will come. So if it comes in Hindi language, he will be able to even read and all. So if you are integrating that. So that's one of the series of alerts products that we will launch. So this is one, but idea is largely we will try and push healthcare, right? Because healthcare is a big issue for kids. Actually, for kids, there are a lot of issues, not just this. Security is a huge issue, right? I mean, a lot of us have grown up, but I mean, we have not really grown up the way we should have, right? So we have created a very, very risky thing for kids. I mean, it's not a world which we want to give to kids. A kid can't cross a road without the risk of getting hit. I mean, which place in the world will call itself evolved or grown up or whatever we call ourselves, superpowers, with that, where a kid can't even cross the road. So there are a lot of challenges. So this is the first project we took. The second project we are doing in that is we are printing a small little book. So if you know in US in DMV you go and there is a small booklet. In a very interesting manner, it explains to you how to drive. Basic courtesies of driving, where do you stop, etc., etc. In fact, you'll be surprised. Almost 60-70% of Indian drivers would have never ever read anything about how to drive. So we blame them. We say they don't do this, don't do that. But I mean, when was the last that we ever told them about how to drive in the first place? Right? So that step has completely gone missed. So what we are trying to do is publish those very small books in again different languages, which will be distributed to drivers. At a last mile, you can imagine that if there is a car stop at signals, right, somebody should just go and ask them that, would you want to just take it? If we can beg on signals, we can very well give this booklet on signals, right? So, and maybe there's a chance that when he's sitting at home, maybe he reads it up. Maybe his kid lifts it up and say that it looks interesting, maybe reads it out and he hears, right? And it will just talk about, okay, why you should stop at zebra. You know, we kill 2 lakh people every year on road. 2 lakh people we kill every year on road. And there's no war going on, right? I mean, it's something very, very serious to take up. So, we thought we will take, that's the next project, and we will go to car manufacturers saying that, hey, listen, you guys are creating killing machines, why don't you just fund this little book and keep it inside, let the people read. So that's what we are doing. Now, a lot of this has to be supported with funds, right, because this is all burn, and it's largely a burn model, right. So what we are doing is we are putting an online website called goodpapa.in, which will be an e-commerce site for kids things, right. So you want to buy a tennis racket, you will be able to go and search on goodpapa.in. It will show you 20 rackets, right. You go your mouse on one of the products, it will show you how many kids is this racket going to support on immunization. So you may have 50 kids here, you may say 70 kids here, the price may be a little bit different. You can choose how many kids you want to support. And of course, it will also show you products which don't support anything, right? So somewhere down, you can buy things which don't support anything. But we will, so there's a cross-funding model, right? So you can, if you want, you can say, okay, I'll support 20 kids. So you got your racket, the vendor sold his racket, so transaction is done. But somewhere in the middle, we sneaked out our 20 kids immunization, right? And so when we do these booklets, same thing. It will say, okay, this product if you buy, you sponsor 20 drivers. And that book will go to those 20 drivers. What we are trying to figure out still is how do we report back to you that you said 20 kids and they actually have happened, right? So we're figuring out that audit mechanism. So by which you can see what you have done over a period of time. So just imagine on every product, if you start doing it over a period of a year or 2 years, you would have sponsored good 100, 200 kids. Right, and so India, Asia, Africa, large part of the world needs that kind of a tool. So that's what we're trying to do.
I think I'll just leave the floor open to questions now.